First of all, Madam Secretary, thank you very much for being here. Alam niyo po, sa totoo lang, napaka-importante ng presence niyo as Secretary of Education. Simply because, sa dami po ng problema ng Department of Education, kailangan talaga political will. And when you came aboard as a Secretary, I think you brought in hope to many of those who really want change to happen. Alam niyo, Madam Secretary, marami kasi dyan, alam naman yung problema eh. Alam rin yung sagot, pero minsan, talagang political will. That is why, with you at the helm of the department, hopefully these changes can happen quickly. Siguro rin, Madam Secretary, I just want to react sa mga sinabi ni Ma'am Gina. No? Una po, yung sa mother tongue. Ano? Sa mother tongue po, actually, sa House of Representatives, pasado na po kami on third and final reading. Ang sinabi po namin doon, pareho ng sinasabi po ninyo. Sinasabi namin ang mother tongue o the language that one is used to, a learner is used to, okay sa amin yun. Kaya ang tinanggal lang po namin ay yung mandatory nature. So schools, principals, and teachers can still choose. Kung tingin nila yun yung pinaka-effective, payag kami. Kasi sa ilalim po ng K-12 law ngayon, it's mandatory eh. Kaya kawawa rin po yung teachers. Kaya pinasa na po namin yun on third and final reading. Ang tinanggal lang namin, yung mandatory nature. Payag kami kahit ano, kung ano yung pinaka-effective. Pangalawa, sa spiral progression, we are about to pass that also. Aalisin na rin po namin yung mandatory nature. We want to give the teachers the flexibility on how to teach a subject. Mas alam po nila, depende, hindi katulad ngayon sa K-12 law, mandatory po eh. Wala akong choice eh. Pangatlo, nabanggit niyo yung problema natin sa registered guidance counselors. Pasado na rin po namin on third and final reading sa House. Ang sinasabi po namin, pansamantala, papayagan po natin kahit hindi siya registered guidance counselor. Papayagan po natin, una, yung mga graduates ng allied courses na may at least 12 units of behavioral science. Papayagan rin po natin dapat yung teachers kung gusto nila. At kung tingin ng principal, karapat-dapat sila. Ang dami na po masyadong mental wellness na nangyayari. Sinabi po namin sa naming version, ang sabi po namin, angatin na rin po natin yung salary grade. Pagka registered guidance counselor ka, huwag naman salary grade 11. Mag-umpisa tayo sa 16. Para kahit pa paano may karera ka naman pagdating po nung usapin po ng career mo. Sa 11 and 12 po, sabi nyo nga, rine-review po ninyo. Tama po sa amin po, halos nasa floor na po namin for passage on third and final reading. Inaamyenda na po namin yung creative arts, yung arts and design, at inaamyenda na rin po namin yung curriculum ng TVL. Ang sabi po namin, 50% of the curriculum must be done by the experts. Yung mga industriya po, kaya ang sabi natin, dapat imbitahin natin ang TESDA, imbitahin natin ang DTI, ang mga business communities na sumama po doon sa formulation, kasama rin po dyan sa creative arts. Pero Ma'am Gina, pinag-uusapan namin share Margo, nabanggit mo kanina, pati Pong Kiko ata, nabanggit mo na i-release nyo na po yung K-10 curriculum po ninyo. Gusto nyo talagang, it's not a DepEd curriculum, but a curriculum of everyone. Pero Ma'am Gina, matagal ka na rin po sa gobyerno, matagal na rin po siguro kayo sa DepEd. Alam natin ang totoo. Minsan talaga, we have to dive into it, do it, and then from there, develop it. As public servants, we have to take, that risk. Pero hindi na po pwede yung status ko ngayon. We have to move on. And siguro marami pa ko kung gusto banggitin, pero marami rin gusto magsalita, mag-react. Ito na lang po, importante rin po pinag-uusapan namin yung sa 1 to 3. Masayang-masaya po kami. I think si VP Sara nakabanggit na nito, yung pagbawas ng subjects. Talagang ma'am, ang kabataang Pilipino, matalino talaga at magaling. Yung PISA na yan, huwag niyo na isipin yan kasi that was a fluke for the simple reason that mother tongue got in the way. And medyo nandun tayo sa Pero it's not a reflection of the Filipino student. Ang kailangan lang po natin sa isang Filipino student, turuan magbasa, at naintindihan niya yung binabasa niya. Reading lang at mathematics at yung GMRC. Siguro po, talaga sabi niyo nga ni Ma'am Sara, babawasan niyo yan talaga. I think we are really hoping that we get to that point na talagang let us give the Filipino child the chance na reading, reading, reading. Kaya po niya eh. Basta marunong siya magbasa at naiintindihan niya in whatever language o dialect na gusto na tingin natin komportable sila.
Any more, Congressman Go?
Thank you very much, Senator Win. Magandang hapon po, Vice President Sara, at sa lahat po ng mga opisyal ng DepEd. Several questions po. Una po, when we adopt or when you design the K-10 program, what will happen to the K-12? Isa pong tanong yan. Gusto ko malaman kung anong ibig sabihin yan. Baka i-focus ninyo sa K-10 at meron namang remaining K-12. Ang ibig ba sabihin yan, the student can choose whether they want to take the K-10 or the K-12. Si Mang Gina.
May I respond, Mr. Chair?
Thank
you. Thank you po, Congressman Go. K-10 lang po ang una naming ilo-launch kasi under review po yung 11 to 12, but we're continuing with K-12. Unahin lang po natin yung K-10. Okay? At sabi nga ni Congressman Romulo, we want a Philippine curriculum. Tama din naman, kailangan i-implement natin to. Kung merong mga nakikita tayo later on, di ba, na mga kailangan pang ayusin natin. Because the curriculum is a living document. Di ba? So, pero magda-dive in po tayo kung Romulo doon sa K-10. Kung ano makukuha naming feedback, ipa-finalize namin based on that feedback. But along the way, we'll keep improving the curriculum. So going back, Congressman Marco, ano po, K-10 po muna tayo. Susunod po natin kaagad yung 11 to 12.
Yeah, thank you. Yung pong susunod na tanong ko dyan, dito po sa K-12, yung textbook track, kayo po ba ay papayag kung ang textbook track will be placed under the TESDA at hindi po sa Department of Education, considering the fact that ang nangyari po ngayong nakaraang taon, for those who have graduated under the textbook track, hindi po sila nakakahanap ng trabaho at yung mga employers, they prefer other students or graduates than those who have graduated under the textbook track.
Sir, I don't have a response to that at the moment. We need to discuss this within the Department of Education. So when we're ready, sir, we'll get back to you with a response.
Just a few reactions and comments. I'd like to echo the concern raised by Congressman Commissioner Romano on guidance counselor. Yusek Gina, you already mentioned it, no? So we really have to work on that because I think we all recognize it. I'm just really echoing that concern. There has to be a clear career path for them to really want to get into this. And I think the time has come for us to be creative in the courses that we will allow to be guidance counselors. Napaka-specific, napaka-limiting ng guidance counselors. Samantalang a psych graduate would have, if not more, exposure on this. So it's high time that we prioritize this. The second point I'd like to raise, it was in the news, I think yesterday, that the a survey with employers showed that our graduates lack soft skills. And I think we can all agree we're mothers. The VP and I once in a while get to talk about our children. Many of us are parents here. Or substitute parents, and you can't develop this later in life. No, it's something that comes naturally if they have that kind of exposure early in life. So, how do we do this? I'm not proposing that there's a new subject, but I'm proposing that it's integrated in every step of the way. Easier said than done, but it also comes with the teachers having confidence. The teachers, it's a mindset. No, I've had the opportunity to discuss with a group of CEOs, no, and they compared the graduates of the Philippines, Singapore, and other Asian countries. And there's no doubt that Filipino graduates are very hardworking. Number one, yan, very hardworking, very reliable. But sometimes or many times now, there's yung gap is that and not even initiative, but it's that confidence, it's that leadership, no? So that's something I just like to park with you, because that's what we really want these young people to have, the soft skills. And the soft skills are communication, problem solving, ability to collaborate, no? Those kind of skills are really needed. We need to be prepared to adjust the way we look at our own healthcare workers. 2-year programs, 3-year programs, baka kailangan sa tech book na yung iba. So it's like ladderized education, which we passed that law 10 years ago when the late father of my seatmate here was still alive. It was his bill when you were in the house, no? So we have a ladderized program which will allow from senior high all the way to whether you go to college or to tech book, to be any kind of entry level worker in any field. I'm speaking of healthcare because that's the area that I'm studying now. So whether it's nurses, whether it's assistant in the laboratory, whether it's a guidance counselor assistant, so there's something that they can do with a 6-month, a 1-year, a 2-year, a 3-year program. And because if we don't evolve, we will never be able to have the manpower that we need. And even in our education sector, no, Mr. Chairman, you'll recall I'm always pushing for the para teachers because we are producing more children than teachers. So if we do not empower other workers, whether they are voluntary parents from the Parent-Teacher Association, we will never have enough. And to think that we have a young population. Can you imagine? Tayo na ngayon may young population, and yet we will not be able to meet that need, because the ability of other countries to attract our graduates will just get stronger and stronger because they can afford to pay much more. So that's really what I feel we need to be aware of as we develop our curriculum. How prepared are they when they finish, whether grade 10 and grade 12? And many industries are prepared to come up with like 3-year programs that start from grade 9 or grade 10. We have these kind of tie-ups in Taguig with IT companies. So grade 9, grade 10, scholar na nila yan, yung mga IT students na yan. And then they will give them jobs. And if you look at the trend in other countries, that's the trend now as well. Apprenticeship programs instead of college degrees. And then I will end with my favorite topic, early education. We really just need to do more. We can see the stark difference with children who get to go to early education, who get to attend early education programs. So I just resonate, no, the common observation of both DepEd and our colleagues. Thank you very much.
Just to add to what Senator Pia mentioned, there's a beautiful program in senior high school. That's a pre-baccalaureate program for maritime. No? And that's a beautiful program because it's specialized. Kulang lang siya because after taking that pre-baccalaureate program on maritime for senior high school, walang certification or there's no end goal. The student needs to go pa to college. No? But if we can, we're also the breeding ground of maritime employees globally. No? And I think the whole point of Senator Pia is to specialize on several programs because we could really develop them at an early age to specialize on certain industries. No?
Mr. Chairman, sorry, just to be clear kasi our media friends, I don't want to be misquoted but the reality is the other countries will always attract our graduates. So I want to have strong programs and good salaries for them so that they can stay. But if they choose to leave, then they're also capable of having good jobs. But my main goal is for us to develop, pero hindi na siguro sakop nitong hearing, but just to be clear, kasi madalas tayong nami-misquote minsan na ang objective talaga natin is to create this graduate who can survive anywhere and be appreciated for the skills that they have. Thank you.
Senator Sani?
Salamat, Mr. Chair. Magandang hapon po sa ating Vice President and Secretary and her team. I'd like to congratulate you for all your initiatives. Klarong-klaro na mabilis po yung pagkilos ninyo at you've set some plans in motion. So congratulations for that. Ang dagdag ko lang po, and congratulations of course to our chairpersons for setting this up. At napakaganda yung coordination. Ang nakikita ko lang siguro yung paggamit po ng teknolohiya. Sana ma-leverage natin much more. I think there are a lot of resources online which are free. Khan Academy, Coursera. So in terms of building your curriculum already, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Andyan na po yan. You have technologies like ChatGPT which will help our teachers already. So I just see technology as a way of leapfrogging a lot of our problems kasi medyo analog pa yung approach natin. How many classrooms do we need? How many, etc. So I think technology can help us leapfrog a lot of these problems. Yun lang po. Thank you.
Our contingent in the House of Representatives was chosen by Chair Roman to represent the different regions of the country. So we have those from Luzon, Visayas. I'm here to give insights from Mindanao. And I'd like to just make a manifestation on what I see is one of our concerns. One of the glaring reports that was given to us when we opened our EDCOM 2 was the BARM was the lowest performing region in terms of education. And if we were to do a whole-of-nation approach, I believe that we are only as strong as our weakest link. So I hope that the BARM region will not be forgotten, and there will be a serious maybe coordination or action so that they can have a catch-up plan and at least meet national standards. That's first. Secondly, the greatest legacy that was given to us in Mindanao by the former president, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, is really the peace process and it being successful. But from the province of Lanao del Norte, which is always the battleground of the MILF, we see that the peace process is primarily an agreement between the elders of the MILF. Our number one concern is the next generation. And the DepEd and the education system is critical in this. Ensuring that the new generation of fighters will not become a second generation, that they will be reintroduced into mainstream society. So one of the challenges that we see there is the existence of the Madaris system. Before the DepEd had the ALIVE program, the Arabic Learning Islamic Values program. I don't know if that has a place in the future. And I don't know what strategies there will be specific to the region of Mindanao and the BARM when it comes to the challenges of the Madaris system. So I hope this can be taken up and considered when DepEd makes their roadmap and their plans for our region. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Kong Kiko. And then Father and Ben.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair. Quick lang, and I want to first of all echo what's been said. No, Madam Vice President, everybody is incredibly hopeful. No, that with you sitting at DepEd, many of the issues of DepEd are actually administrative and bureaucratic rather than purely educational. And having someone like you, I think, sitting at the helm fills all of us, at least on this side of the table, with hope. No? Having said that, I want to take up from something that my friend here on my left, Congressman Dimaporo, has mentioned, without wishing to dilute anything that he has said about BARM. I am curious, ma'am, no? Because you do mention in your presentation, you said recalibrated national recovery program. If there was a way for you to at least expound a little bit to what that recalibration might mean, and I'll say why I'm concerned, right? Obviously, part of the emergency has to do with a learning crisis, no, and a learning deficiency. And that would require a certain amount of remediation within the system as it stands. And the concern I have is the longer it takes us to address the remediation on proper critical scale, the more difficult it will be over time to let them catch up a foregone learning loss. No? So given that we are ending a school year and we will have a summer, this seems to be an opportune time to address remediation programs knowing full well that some of those programs might be short-term in intervention and impact, and other more long-term educational reform that might be more institutionalized is also necessary, right? To be able to distinguish between those two types of intervention. So, Yusek, if I may just request a larger or more expansion or a discussion of what you mean by recalibration, number one, and what that might mean for a remediation program moving forward, starting this school year and maybe subsequent. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Ma'am, yung current learning recovery program po natin is highly DepEd focused. So we wanted to involve more stakeholders because learning recovery can't happen with just DepEd working on learning recovery. And you rightly mentioned it, sir, kailangan bigyan na natin kaagad ng remediation yung mga estudyante natin kasi the longer it takes, baka mas lalong lumaki yung learning loss. So this coming break, we're doing a program called Learning Camp. Dito po papasok ang ating reading program, ang ating science and technology and math program. Ito po ay magkakaroon ng pre-test, post-test. Mag-a-assess po kami ng mga bata bago matapos ang school year. And then, papasok sila sa learning camp. Pero hindi po namin kaya lahat ng mga bata. Ano po siya? It's going to be a phased implementation. So we're focusing on certain areas. Like for example, K-3 will focus on reading. Okay? And then other grade levels will focus on math, science, and English. Ganun po. Tapos yung ibang grade levels, dahil wala pa kaming special materials for them, gagawin nila kung paano ginagawa yung remediation in the past. Okay? But we're starting with the program this year, phased implementation hanggang makuha namin lahat ng learning areas at saka lahat ng estudyante.
Father Ben?
Yeah, I think when you said that you're now launching the K-10, would you like to ask if you're addressing, we really have serious problems with the spiral curriculum in science and math. I've dedicated a lot of my life to improving math and science, and I feel very strongly that that has set us back. No? It has made teacher training much more difficult. It has made mastery impossible. No? So I hope, at the very least, I hope you give the flexibility to schools not to do it. I certainly have pushed, we don't do it in the other schools. We don't follow the spiral. No? We think it's a disaster for our schools. But if some find it better, fine. But can you at least give the flexibility? Because we're really far behind in math and science. I've worked much of my life trying to do something about it, no? And this has really set us back. No? So I hope you at least give the opportunity for schools that don't want to do it to not to do it. No? Since you already come out with a new curriculum, yeah, please.
Opo, nasa batas po kasi yung spiral approach. Pero dito sa ilo-launch namin K-10 curriculum, we're not advocating for a single approach. So hindi siya spiral curriculum approach lang. So actually, we're no longer using the term spiral approach. Kasi nga, mas eclectic na yung approach. So it's not just a single approach. We're using other models, linear, non-linear, depende po dun sa kailangan sa subject areas.
Well, the point is that you want a certain mastery of things, and the problem we have is that you cannot achieve mastery by taking a little bit of physics in first year, and another bit in second year, another bit in third year, another bit in fourth year. It takes time to master any subject. That's point one. And then Dr. Bernardo has pointed out that the other problem is that they start doing physics in first year, second year, but the math they need for that is only taught in third year. There's also a misalignment between the between the math curriculum that they need for physics and the physics courses. So there are really a lot of misalignments in the problem. Anyway, I just want to tell you that those of us who've been working on this for years, really, you have made our life much more difficult. That's all I'm trying to say. And you've certainly made it more difficult for our children to improve in math and science.
Just to respond to Father Ben, as we mentioned earlier in the House, we are about to amend that K-12 law. We are removing the mandatory nature of the spiral progression because it is so difficult for the DepEd because the law mandates them to do that. That is why we have a bill and we're about to pass that so that the mandatory nature is also removed.
Early on po, when you were chosen as secretary, we were asked about our thoughts about this, and one of the things we said po, we're actually very encouraged by the fact that there's a local government person with local government experience who has become secretary. Kasi po tingin po namin sa edukasyon, marami po sa solusyon talagang is really based, must be with the local governments. I think part of our challenges is many of our policies are nationally driven, but the situation on the ground in every province is different. So we need to really empower the local governments to make decisions and really practice education themselves and be most accountable for education. And we're very grateful that there's a secretary who understands and has implemented projects themselves on the ground, projects herself on the ground, because you need more of this. The other point I'd like to bring up is, so I'm part of the teacher quality committee in the EDCOM. And isa po sa na-point out namin is the importance po to align DepEd, CHED, and I think the most important, which always seems to be missing in our meetings, is PRC po. All of these three groups are the key groups po and the gatekeepers to the teachers coming into the system. Pero parang hindi po magkatugma ang ginagawa ng tatlong grupo. And we cannot, PPED for the past, I think, decade has been trying to get the PRC to open up the LET exam for review and improvement, but we have yet to ever see the LET exam opened up and studied by third parties po. And the PRC is under po the Office of the President. It's actually an executive department agency. So the group that really should bang on the door of PRC really is the executive, and we're hoping po that this is something that can happen under your administration. We really need to align all of these agencies if we want this po to happen. So yun lang po, the alignment of the three, and we really want to see stronger participation of the LGUs in the execution of education. Yun lang po, salamat po.
Again, Madam Vice President, to the DepEd family, maraming salamat dito sa pagkakataon na makaharap kayo. Nakita niyo naman po, Madam Vice President, I think whether from the Senate, from the House, or even the private sector, everyone is hopeful with you at the helm. We will be able to make these reforms, and may kakampi po kayo talaga, sa totoo lang. So please do not hesitate to call on anyone, even any of your staff, to call on any one of us. We are here to assist our education sector. We are here to support the Vice President as Secretary of Education, so you can count on that, Madam Vice President. And again, to all our yung fellow legislators, kasama ko lahat ng mga EDCOM 2 members na kasama natin, technical staff, thank you very much for the hard work to bring everyone together this afternoon. Maraming salamat po.